Oh, I didn't check.
But you know, sometimes we drive.
The whole hour is going to be spent just like, stay tuned. Alright. It didn't come. Is it out? Is it out of your outbox?
Let me contact my friends. Yeah, I'm moving to the rest of the purple. The large. Oh, sorry. We could do this way.
Oh yeah. I got it.
And this is all on the I can't. Okay.
Right?
I donated it. No. And I wasn't going to make a big deal of it. And then she gave me that looks like
All right, cool. Ah, dude.
All right, push me off.
This internet sucks.
I'll grab you for good luck. Yeah, like
Okay, hi, welcome to Autism One. We are Realm of Caring. My name is Courtney Collins. I'm the Education Director at the Realm of Caring. I've been at the Realm of Caring almost for 1 year now and love my job and love what we do. And we're going to share all of that with you because we have another tool for your toolkit today. And we'll share that with you today. And I'm also here with...
My name is Adam Young, and I'm Development Officer at Realm of Caring. And thank you for joining us today for this presentation. We hope that we're able to provide some insight and help you along the process if you decide to venture into the cannabinoid therapy realm.
That's right. So we'll explain more about what we do in a little bit. But today's presentation, we're just going to give you a preview. It's all about getting started with cannabinoid therapy. If that's something you're interested in, that you've heard about, you've seen on the news, or you've read some research about, or even anecdotal from a friend or a neighbor, those are all possible considerations of where you've heard about cannabinoid therapy and cannabis, CBD, THC, THCA, CBDA, whatever floats your boat. So we'll go and get started. So we are... Just want to read this disclaimer before we start.
And this is, we just want to make sure that everybody recognizes that we are not clinicians, we are not doctors, and everything we discuss here is not medical advice, but we are just sharing with you what we've learned along our way, or in our path at the Realm of Caring. And so the Realm of Caring Foundation specifically invokes the First Amendment rights of freedom of speech and of the press without prejudice. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The products discussed are not intended to diagnose, cure, prevent, or treat any disease. And Realm of Caring always recommends, when and wherever possible, that licensed local healthcare professionals be consulted. The Realm of Caring Foundation is an independent nonprofit with its own governing board. We do not produce or sell cannabinoid products, nor do we receive funds from the sale of other companies' products.
And I think a lot of people do ask us, when they call us, they're like, oh, what CBD product can I buy from you? And that's a common mistake. So just to make sure we don't sell any products, even here at the conference today, we got asked, oh, so what do you sell? And always make that, disclaimer, we're not selling anything. So getting started, what are we covering today? We encourage you to create a free client account, and you can register at therock.us/clients. And that's a great way to connect with us and begin looking at our resources and webpage. And that's right there on the screen, if you can see. But what we'll cover today is really an overview of who we are, what we do, our mission, vision, if you haven't heard of us, who we serve, as well as our research and some of our resources. We do cover state and federal laws, CBD, differences of CBD and THC, what it is. Hemp, we often get asked, what's the difference between hemp, CBD, and CBD derived from marijuana? The endocannabinoid system, so you understand how it affects our body. Administration half-life, the Entourage Effect, quality products, side effects, potential interaction, safety, and how to talk to your healthcare provider, which is so important, especially if you do want to talk to your doctor and have these conversations, how do you do that? As well as ways to get involved with us and keep engaged, donate, volunteer, and register.
And as many of you might have noticed or might notice in the future, there are a lot of different CBD companies and cannabis companies out there, and not all products are created equal. And because of the influx of companies now, there's just that many more companies to vet, to process, to look at certificates of analysis, to request documents from those companies. And so we can help you through that process because we vetted a lot of these companies internally. And so we encourage you to call us at 719-347-5400. And option one will get you directly to our care specialist team where they can walk you through the process of either picking a product, best methods of administration, and so on and so forth.
Suggested serving amounts, how much to take. That's what our number one question. So if you are feeling a little frustrated, and this is a great way to connect with us, and we'll continue giving you this information of how to connect with us throughout the presentation. Yeah, so who are we? It's because of quality of life matters is our motto, if you will. We are an independent 501c3 nonprofit that is reimagining the way we think, talk, and respond to cannabis and those who use it. We do collaborate with universities and professors and PIs alike on innovative research, providing revolutionary education for our clients and even healthcare providers, healthcare practitioners. And we empower people to lead better lives. And this is really important because we do talk a lot about quality of life and what that looks like when it comes to severe and pretty common symptom conditions that people face every day. And REALM is an acronym, so it's R for research, E education, A advocacy, improving lives with measurable results.
And the mission of the Realm and Caring is Realm and Caring Foundation empowers you to enhance your quality of life by providing and expanding cannabinoid research initiatives, educational service, and advocacy programs. And our vision is worldwide knowledge through science, acceptance through knowledge, and access through acceptance. And going back to the mission, our foundation was started by two mothers who, unfortunately, their sons were sent home on palliative care and hospice, saying that there was nothing left that the doctors could do to help those kids. And so the moms, with no other options, started looking elsewhere. And that's really how we got it started. And they weren't looking for a cure. Obviously they wanted one, but they were just looking to improve the quality of their life. So these kids weren't in bed all day or seizing hundreds of times a week. And that's what really started us, and that's where we're at now, just trying to help people improve the quality of life.
And this next slide really captures one of our founders, Heather Jackson, and her son, Zakai. That's Zakai on the right side of the screen, where you have him before cannabinoid therapy, the little picture. That was when they know he was taking steroids for his particular seizures, and now there he is after cannabinoid therapy doing a tree-like yoga pose, which is always awesome. He's in our CDC. We have a child development center at the Realm of Caring in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And that's amazing because we get to see him every day and how the success that he has from using cannabinoid therapy. So this is one anecdotal story. The second success story, if you will, from CBD back in 2013 when they started. So, before using CBD, Zakai was having seizure onsets for 4 months, almost daily seizures. He was diagnosed with Doza syndrome, where they had tried 17 pharmaceuticals and had failed, was receiving hospice palliative care, had diagnosed with 6 seizure types, developmentally delayed and autistic tendencies. And then after he had started CBD, once they found control with the correct amount that they were administering to him, he was 4 years seizure-free and then pharmaceutical-free at that point. His learning and his social abilities really have grown, I would say, or developed over time, significantly reduced autistic tendencies and positive side effects, better sleep, better appetite, less negative behaviors. And I love this because we've seen it happen over the years, and Heather speaks so passionately about the transformation that she's seen in her son. And they just celebrated his 16th birthday on last Saturday over the weekend, and that was just incredible because she didn't think she was going to have him at 16 years old, and he's still here with us, thank God.
Yeah.
So
it's
a great
wonderful story.
Yeah.
And so this next slide shows our demographics, which, we have serviced over 54,000 clients worldwide, and over 14,000 of those clients are currently using cannabis. And like that last bullet point mentions, our demographics have changed significantly over the course of at least the last 4 years. Now where initially a lot of pediatric cases were the ones that we were helping. Mothers, obviously, they have communities with each other where they talk to each other, and they go over these different alternatives that each other are trying and things like that.
And in 2013, when the CNN story broke with Sanjay Gupta, that was really, we saw this, we call it refugees. Refugees came from all over the United States, but also internationally, and they came to Colorado initially to seek this CBD oil that was obviously high in CBD, low in THC, that was helping with reduced seizures, especially intractable epilepsy. So that was the pediatric focus back then, and how the realm of caring was established to help those families figure this all out, right? Paige and Heather had it down. They wanted to share this amazing, and all this core group of initial families that had started it, and essentially the community grew and grew and grew. And as you know, social media caught fire and caught wind of it, and so it went from pediatric, but also now adults, right, Adam?
Yeah. In that adult demographic that you see on the screen there, I would say the majority of the adults that contact us and are using it on a regular basis are those 50 and older. So the demographics have shifted from kids to aging adults, and its transition has happened quite dramatically, where the older population has now, they're all talking together and they're all hearing about CBD and how it's helping inflammation, help remediate pain. They're just experiencing a tremendous amount of results from just some CBD. And so they're sharing that with their friends, and they're sharing that with their friends. And that's why you see this demographic pie chart the way it is now. It actually is probably inverse about 4 years ago.
Exactly.
So it's really phenomenal.
Yeah. So what are our services? We obviously have actually over 55,000, this slide I need to update. It's over 55,000 members and clients, if you will. And we really address a whole number of needs, if you will, or questions about anywhere between our research, our videos, live webinars, online forums that we have, our financial assistance programs from CARES and Joy Fund. We have, monthly support groups, as well as a beautiful research library that we're overhauling right now, as well as our website, improving our website, as well as a bunch of resources on there. And for physicians, we have over 1,400 physicians now registered on our portal, healthcare providers or practitioners. And really, if you set up an account, you can actually have clients search for you and be made available for public view to find you if you're someone who's willing to talk to your patients or your patients in your area about CBD and cannabis in general. So we connect clients with healthcare providers online. So that might be a nutritionist, a dietitian, even a neurologist, if you will. So we talk about all these things. The other thing, I'll get into that a little bit later, but we are building out our practitioner portal. And the idea of that is to help educate more. We see this growing need of doctors and healthcare providers who are interested in learning more about CBD. And so we're raising funds to then create a CME course, continuing medical education or continuing education course, for getting that accredited and providing AMA credits, or if you will, physician and pharmacist credits or nursing credits, if you will. And the idea there is to really build out the education for people who, there are a lot of clients who want to talk to their doctors about this, and there's this big gap we're finding in medical education. So we want to fill that gap, and we want to bring the evidence that we have and the research that we have and the knowledge that we have to the table and help educate them. And then lastly, we have these community initiatives. We do go out to where we can Skype with hospitals, schools, pharmacies, nursing agents, family supports, and more, these grassroots movements or political efforts that can really engage with people. So we do have community events as well.
Yeah, and that's great. And one last thing too, in addition to that community piece, is that if you live in a state where they have a medical marijuana program or recreational, we can work with those dispensaries and build out educations for their bud tenders, for their employees, and make sure that everybody is well educated in the cannabinoid realm. And here's a little quality of life roadmap that we put together. And this is kind of at a 10,000 foot view. This is kind of how we see that path of somebody that hears about cannabis, wants to learn about cannabis, and then this is the process that they go through to find quality products and get that cannabis. And so we encourage you to kind of take a look at this roadmap and kind of this might help you set your expectations. And so we want to make sure that we're never stating that this is a silver bullet, if you will, for everybody. You know, it works for most individuals, but not everybody. And there's different routes to get to that way to determine if it's going to work for you or not. So this is just a little snapshot that we put together, and we'd like to share that. And this is available on our website and your client portal, which that is the place where you go to find all of the information that we're discussing here today.
Yeah, so even at the conference today, people said, well, when I call the realm of caring, what kind of conversation happens? And really it starts with, you know, what are your medical condition or symptoms? What are you calling us about? You know, whether it's ASD or whether it's Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, what cancer, seizures, everything. And then what does the research suggest? We always use our research and then as well as peer-reviewed published literature to help indicate mechanisms of action from your medical condition symptom, as well as what are the pharmaceuticals you're currently using or current weight, because we do have pediatric and adult guidelines as well as cancer guidelines. And then this is something really interesting, and someone didn't even think of this today, but what are your personal implications for using cannabis? And we do make a pro and con list. So I asked this particular person, what state do you live in? And if you are going to be using this with your child, you know, what are the legalities of that? And do you need to get a medical card? And, you know, what does that look like, that process? So it's really important. They didn't even think of that. They were like, oh my goodness, yeah, of course. So we kind of walk you through some of those pro-con lists. And then lastly, where do you live? Because that's going to help us figure out what products you have access to. Then we get started. So, our current research initiatives. We have the largest U.S. registry in the United States. It's IRB approved, Institutional Review Board, and essentially we do that in collaboration with Johns Hopkins University, UPenn, VA Palo Alto, and others. Launched 2 years ago, so we just have closed that set of data, and we have manuscripts about to publish that in a few different journals, which is really awesome. The ORR is open to any condition, whether you're using cannabis or not, so that's pretty unique because we do have some non-cannabis users participate in the study. And the largest cannabis observational study in the U.S., which I already mentioned. The other research projects that we have are a metabolite study, which is a P study. So we're looking at participants who only take CBD and then asking for urine analysis and seeing what amounts of THC they're testing positive for, or levels that they have in their urine.
If I can just...
Yeah, please
that
add.
Metabolite study is really important because
absolutely,
there's a big debate in the cannabis arena right now when using CBD with trace amounts 0.03% or less of THC. Is that going to show up on a drug test 1 week later, 2 weeks later, a month later? And the jury is really out, and I think it is somewhat unique to that individual, but there's a lot of other factors that go into that. Right. And so we're really trying to get a better answer for those folks. Right now we can say, well, you might test positive. If you have a risk of getting tested, you probably shouldn't take it. Right. And that's not an answer we like to say, but I know it's one that, you know, if your life is on the line, so to speak, you really can't take that risk. And isn't it true, Adam, even isolates have small trace amounts? Some isolates do. Yeah. Again, quality of product is a big determining factor on what to get. If you have a product that says there's no THC and you have it independently tested and there's trace amounts of THC, that's what we're finding. People are saying there's no THC, or people are saying there is THC and there isn't any THC.
Right.
So that's why you really want to stick with for instance, the products we support, we've done all this vetting. We've looked at their certificates of analysis time and time again, and they've been consistent.
Right.
And that's what you want to see.
Right. And making sure that if it is CBD derived for hemp, is that 0.3% THC threshold. However, again, there are trace amounts, and again, that THC can accumulate in fatty tissue.
Correct.
Which we'll get to. There is a current NFL player study, a former professional athlete study, adult epilepsy study that's at Colorado State University with Barbara Brett, as well as a PTSD study at Harvard with Stacy Gruber. Yeah.
And so here's some of the resources that we provide as it relates to research. Our research library is full of a lot of great articles, some clinical, some non-clinical, but you can literally pull up an article that is categorized alphabetically by condition, and then you can look and see what others have done and used. Were they successful at what they were trying? What patterns were they just using cannabis, or were they looking at diet? Were they doing something else in collaboration with cannabis? And so going through those articles, you can really get a good idea of what others are doing or are trying to do to remedy these symptoms.
And some of the articles, the journal articles, if you will, are, some of them are clinical animal, as well as human or in vitro or in vivo. So you just need to look. We're trying to make all of those terms searchable. So, and that, as well as this international cannabis, this is another international research, website, as well as domestic research, PubMed. You can always go in there and search cannabis. So I've just signed up for I think it's called an RSS feed. So basically what I get every day is pinged into my mailbox. Anything that has the word cannabis in it and peer-reviewed research that's published every day. I get about between 3 to 10 published articles a morning that show up in my email inbox, and that's kind of exciting. Some of them are pretty boring and dry. Some of them are really interesting and editorial in nature. Some are definitely trials or not so much clinical trials, but observational research and what they've done with their patients, which is pretty exciting too. So you can see that we do have a section on autism in our realm of caring research library, which we encourage you to check out.
And here's a map Courtney was referencing earlier about the pro-con. You really should determine if it's safe for you to use in your state due to the laws. As you can see in this map, there's a lot of different colors, which means all those colors represent different laws and different rules and safeguards that are put in place. And so you have to be really careful to navigate through those laws, or you can reach out to us and we can help you do that.
Right.
But on this slide here, you can see those websites. I would encourage everybody, if you have any questions, go to those websites. If you can't figure it out, give us a call.
Right.
And we'll help you walk through that, because they are constantly changing. We're trying to keep up with them. We're usually pretty good at that. And so hopefully in the near future, maybe this map might all be one color, but we shall see.
I love that. So a little bit about the Hemp Farm Bill 2018 that was just passed in December, if you will, and really exciting. It removes hemp from the Controlled Substances Act, and it's allowed farmers to pursue federal hemp cultivation permits, and I believe there's more. So individual states can regulate the industry within their borders as they see fit. There are some states that are not participating in this and have redefined sort of hemp and what that looks like within their state. So they have 40 states. I think that might be 41 because Texas just went on, but they've established hemp cultivation pilot programs for industrial and commercial purposes. So I need to update that map a little bit, but also the U.S. FDA or State Departments of Agriculture provide oversight for this plant's cultivation. Essentially, it makes hemp federally legal. However, states, much like other laws, they still kind of define their laws on a state level. So check with your state. You want to make sure you're in compliance with hemp, within your state. Just because it's federally legal doesn't make it necessarily within your state legal.
Right, and it's very similar along the same path as the medical marijuana program.
Correct.
Federally, it's still Schedule I controlled substance.
Yes.
But some states have elected to make that legal under certain parameters within their borders of that state. So,
Right.
although it was made legal federally, hemp was. Again, the states have sovereignty, so
Yeah.
they can dictate whether it's legal in their particular state or not. So,
And they can also dictate the levels of legality.
That's right.
As far as
That's right.
how much THC is in the hemp versus not.
correct.
Okay. So, what is cannabis? I love this chart. And whenever people talk about, they call us and they're like, "What's THCA?" or "What's THC?" So, really, what this chart does from Steep Hill, and this is in your client portal if you want to download it. And when you make a free client account, it's in there. But it divides up raw, heated, aged. And so imagine raw is really just the flower itself, so with the plant itself, without even adding any kind of heat or decarboxylating it. So it's going to give you those 4 different cannabinoids at the top. So you have the CBGA, CBCA, CBDA, THCA, and all of those have different properties, if you will, that are just being researched. There isn't a whole lot of research on those acidic forms of the plant, but there is a big push and drive and interest from folks who want to learn more about this. So we do our best to gather some information. There is some data to suggest that this works obviously for anti-inflammatory or even anti-cancer. So, and I've known people who really just chew or juice or cold press the raw form, and they've seen a lot of benefits from using the acidic forms of cannabis, which is really cool. Now the second layer, heated, that's the more commonly known one. You've got your THC, your CBD, your CBC, and your CBG, and then the THCV and CBDV and CBCV and CBGV. Some of them, again, unknown. However, a growing interest and growing amount. But the main cannabinoids that we're talking about today are the THC and CBD. And you can see that's a longer list of different benefits. And lastly, age. So if you let that product age enough, it actually turns into all these different other cannabinoids. So your CBNA, CBN. I know that Mary's Medicinals makes a CBN product, for example, and that's a product that we support, and that's commonly used for sleep, as well as anti-inflammatory and a bunch of others. So there are over 400 chemical compounds identified, and then 112 of these compounds are specific to the cannabis plant, known as cannabinoids or phytocannabinoids, and they're all there. What's really great is that when they work all together, it's a synergistic effect. We'll get into that. It's the Entourage Effect.
And this diagram is showing what is CBD and what is THC. These 2 molecules are also found in the cannabis plant, but they have completely different mechanisms of action. One way I like to describe it to clients who call and just need a really quick breakdown is the CBD molecule does not bind to our internal receptors. The THC molecule does, and that's why its onset is rapid. If you smoke it or eat it, within an hour, or if you smoke it within minutes, you feel the effects.
Yeah.
CBD works in a little different way because it doesn't bind. It needs time to accumulate and really saturate the system, if you will. it's not the proper terminology these days, but it's basically, it's a quick rundown. CBD just takes a while to build up in the body before it starts to work, where THC starts working right away. A lot of times that's what folks don't understand, and they try CBD once or they try it for a week, it doesn't work, and they say, well, it's not going to work for me.
Good point.
That's not the case. We typically encourage our clients to take give it at least 3 to 4 weeks before you determine is it working, or do maybe I need to increase or decrease the amount.
That's correct. Good point. We get this question all the time. I think, Adam, you should speak to it because you probably know it better than I do. But we always say, what is the difference between hemp-derived CBD or cannabis-derived CBD? So really, they are the same plant biologically. The real big difference is that THC level. Would you agree?
Correct. Yeah. The THC commonly is more, back in the 70s, I believe, they started trying to clone different plants to increase the THC content, right? So by the time we kind of discovered CBD a few years ago, 10 years ago or so, like not everybody, but most people started discovering it around that time, let's say. And so when that happened, we started... it is all the same plant. It's just now folks are starting to clone it and grow it with more CBD because naturally,
seeing the benefits of the CBD versus getting high of the well, not getting high, but intoxicating effects.
Correct. Yeah. Charlotte's Web, that is the name of that chemovar of cannabis, and prior to that, it was called the hippie's disappointment because people kept smoking it and nobody was feeling the effects.
Right.
So there are differences. They look very alike. They smell alike. But once you get, you boil it down, they are different chemovars, but there are a lot of similarities, let's say, between the two.
And you might often see like full spectrum or whole plant extract. Those are really, there are a bunch of different terms that you might see on the bottles of these different CBD companies. Really, the idea is that they're extracting the whole plant and all the cannabinoids within it. And if you're able to look at their COA profile, their certificate of analysis, they might be able to break it down for you, like what's actually going into the oil. And it might be these little, all those little cannabinoids that you saw on the previous slide, like CBDA and CBG and whatnot. But it's primarily going to be CBD with those trace amounts of THC if it's derived from hemp. And then if it's more, the THC is higher, then it's cannabis derived, really, that medical marijuana piece. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we talk about the Entourage Effect. Whole plant extractions typically include CBD, THC, and more than 400 trace compounds. All of these working together are working like a symphony, or I say like a football team, or any kind of team, if you will. And they really magnify the therapeutic benefits and the individual plant components. There's research already that's beginning to show that when those are in isolation, they don't necessarily are as efficient or beneficial to the body and the symptom relief than they would if they were combined all together. And that was a great article I just read about breast cancer. Peer-reviewed research, they were saying that patients who were taking the, whole plant extract found better results and better improvements and significant deterrence in their cancer than had they used an isolate. So just something interesting to think about when you're talking about, when we talk about products and what you have access to, but also what your choices are.
And we'll get into it a little bit later, but some of those trace compounds as well include the terpene profiles, which also have medicinal benefits.
Good one.
And so hopefully now we're going to start seeing more of those terpene profiles being
Very
listed
important.
on the certificate of analysis.
Yeah.
But because we feel, at least in our experience, we're starting to see a trend that those terpenes actually do, in fact, help clients.
Right. Especially, I know Stanley Brothers has it on their COAs, and that's brand new.
Yep.
And here you go. How do terpenes affect the ECS, THC, and CBD?
Yeah, and so as you can see here, there's about 5 different main terpenes that are found in the cannabis, whether it's hemp, cannabis, medical marijuana, and these all, as you can see, let's take linalool, which is commonly found in the lavender plant. that is noted for having anticonvulsant, analgesic, anti-anxiety, and among others, but those are the major components medicinally that humans are seeing when taking those terpenoids or flavonoids. And so we really are starting to focus on this and think that the right combinations of terpenes along with the right cannabinoid profile will really provide excellent results.
So what is the endocannabinoid system? This is so important because I think this is really a doctor focus, but also important for clients to understand, is that all of us, every human being and every mammal actually, and even some non-mammals or invertebrates like slugs have an endocannabinoid system, which had really been discovered in Israel in 1992 holistically. And then the most important physiological system, the largest regulatory system, maintaining our human health. It really provides homeostasis and balance to all of our other systems. And you can see that we have these CB1 and CB2 receptors basically sprinkled throughout all of our organs and major systems in that picture there. So if you could see, the lungs have our CB1 receptors. So many of our gastrointestinal organs, like their stomach and large intestine and small intestine, have both receptors. Reproductive system, our central nervous system. Really, it's essential to life and relates how we relax, eat, sleep, forget, and protect. So in that next slide shows how the endocannabinoid system interacts with those other regulatory systems and where those CB1 receptors are. So I love this because this has been around since 1992, and medical schools still don't teach about this, which is just sad. And this is where we need to fill in the gap in order to educate folks about how cannabis works in our body. It's so important to understand because this is science. This isn't just something made up. So explaining this foundational information, even on this, getting started approach, is really foundational for understanding how the plant works in our body and why it works.
Yeah.
So, again, one of our frequently asked questions
is, how do I know if a product is good?
We were just at an event, NOCO, Northern Colorado
Hemp
Association, or Hemp.
Yeah.
It was a conference in Colorado, but there had to have been hundreds, a couple, if not 100 or more, more so, of booths of CBD companies that were budding or new and I'd never seen before. And I said, how are they going to differentiate themselves, or even how do I know if this is a good product? And so many people, the market is so saturated right now, and you've heard of brand X, Y, and Z. So how do you know you're getting a good product? What's great is that we've already created this checklist for you. It's on our website, in your client portal, under your resources, and it helps you figure that out.
And we can always help you too. Clients, what I oftentimes told them is, if they can't easily provide a certificate of analysis, that should throw up a red flag immediately.
Right.
If they say, well, we'll have to get back to you, or I don't know, I'll have to find that for you, that should throw up a red flag, because any good manufacturer, for their own sense of well-being, needs to know that their product is safe.
Right.
So if they're not doing that, and you're not able to see that easily, that should really throw up a red flag right away.
Yeah. And making sure that they follow some of these guidelines, just American Herbal Products Association, APA, and Current Good Manufacturing Practices labs, and they have third-party testing or self-regulate. It's making sure that you have a consistent quality product, so that when they create batch from batch, that you're not getting different levels of CBD or THC, for that matter. And as a consumer, you have the right to those batch reports. That's the COA, the Certificate of Analysis.
And what are the side effects of CBD? Now, CBD is each individual tends to respond slightly differently to CBD. We are seeing the majority of people respond well, but there are cases, as in pretty much everything in life, where it's not, one thing isn't going to work the same for everybody. And so, oftentimes, while there are side effects, none of them are any side effects that should warrant any major concern.
Right.
You're not going to be, a lot of these pharmaceuticals, some of the side effects are just terrible for kids, adults,
Right.
elderly, and so it's important to realize that yes, there are side effects to CBD, but they should be minimal, and if you discontinue use, they should go away rather quickly.
Right.
And so we're also noticing that side effects don't occur based on, let's say, if someone takes too much, or if they take, a lot of these products have fillers in those. And so you really have to pay attention to the label.
Right.
We stick with companies that infuse their oil in olive oil or coconut MCT oil.
Right.
Both are high fat quality oils that help deliver those cannabinoids to your endocannabinoid system. And there are times when people do have side effects that aren't desirable. Most commonly is an upset stomach. Again, some of that could be from the oil or the fillers. And occasionally people will actually get psychoactive effects from 0.3% or less of THC. Some folks are just extremely sensitive to that high. But one of the good things about this, as I mentioned previously, is that, usually you can go to sleep, you wake up, and you're back to normal.
Right.
In a typical scenario.
And we do track these side effects. So if if you're a client and you call in and you're like, hey, this is what happened, we can pretty much troubleshoot the side effects with you. If it does cause a rash or you do have diarrhea or vomiting, we can figure that out with you and work that through. But we do track that as well, and so that we do know that it does come up from time to time with sensitive folks.
Yeah, it does. And just know that it's not severe.
Right.
The interactions that we've seen are definitely manageable.
Yeah. So, potential drug interactions, really important.
So, yeah, there's some interactions that we find most commonly with anti-epileptic drugs or drugs, pharmaceuticals that are utilized or broken down by the same cytochrome P450 that is used to metabolize cannabidiol. And so if you find out that if you call our client or our care specialist and
Right.
we're talking about your medications and we hear something that we know utilizes that same pathway, we will let you know. And really, the interactions that happen are not toxic. They essentially butt heads, making each
Yeah.
other less effective.
Right.
And so our remedy to that, if you will, is to try and space CBD out 4 hours ideally, but if you can't, 2 hours apart, either pre or post any other medication or
Right.
supplement for that matter. You really want to give your liver the opportunity to just digest one thing, if you can, at a time.
Right. Definitely ask your pharmacist or doctor. They should be able to help you with this. Or, and also, the ideal situation, even though we know it's not cost effective or necessarily possible, but that blood serum testing can determine medication levels in the body. So being able to, that's the greatest approach to this is testing every 6 to 8 weeks to see if a pattern is formed. But again, if that's not financially possible, but that would be ideal to do that blood test.
Yes.
CBD is very safe. It does not get you high. It's not addictive. Someone just asked me, can I just withdraw? Yes, you can take breaks from it and you won't feel the, negative withdrawal that you would from maybe a pharmaceutical or to be dependent on it. Common misconceptions. It typically metabolizes out of your body within 72 hours. You can't overdose. CBD is not toxic in any amount, even less toxic than caffeine. We do talk about special considerations if you're pregnant or nursing, also adolescents, and psychiatric illnesses, of course.
Correct.
So just to give you a highlight really quick, these are some general products, these quality products, realm of caring supports. You've got elixinol, Mary's Medicinals, Mary's Nutritionals, as well as CW Charlotte's Web Hemp by the Stanley Brothers. You have Stanley Brothers, which is found in, I believe, California, Colorado, and Florida, or maybe just Colorado and Florida. Tikkun Olam is another product we support, and they're just found right now in Florida, but also expanding to California. And then Caniatric is only in California. So medical marijuana. Ways to administer, you have your oil, you have or tincture, sublingual if you will. You've got capsules, which are really easy to administer. Application of topicals or transdermals, vaping, rectal administration, as well as a G-tube, J-tube Mickey button, if you will.
And here is a great section that you'll find on our website.
Yeah.
How much do I take? How do I measure it? This is all found on your client portal homepage under administration guidelines. There's a guideline you can actually print out, and then there's a calculator where, as long as you're using a product we support, your product's in our calculator, and so you can enter that product, select that product that you're using, and it'll tell you how to measure it accurately, either in milliliters or individual drops.
Right.
So it's really helpful for those getting started, how to learn how to measure this and accurately, effectively administer it.
We do suggest oral syringes, but if not, you've got drops, that works too.
Correct.
This is really important. Therapeutic amount and half-life biphasic response. You know, making sure that you do find your optimal amount. You don't want to take too little and you don't want to take too much, because higher amounts can cause diminishing effects, especially within ASD patients. We do find that some families are overdosing, if you will, and kind of cutting back or scaling back. They found those beneficial, that optimal results. So it's making sure you find that therapeutic amount.
Correct. And I always encourage folks, especially when adolescents or behavioral type issues, to start with less. If you can always get away with less, it's going to save you money. The child especially will have to take less amounts each time.
Right.
And so we've oftentimes just tried to start, we always tell people, start on the low side and work your way up.
Right. Why slow and steady? Because of these particular conditions or effects, if you will. And obviously call us if this is something of a concern for you. We can talk through these particular things. Reasonable expectations. We always talk about how you can journal or, how do you set expectations? We have an entire PDF of this that you can download in our client portal. So how long will it take? What does success mean to me? How do I measure this? We give you all the tools to be able to get this down and be successful. And we find people who connect with us see 60 to 80% improved results of their condition symptom.
Yep. And a big part of this is communicating with your physician. We have documents on our website in your client portal homepage that will help you guide you through this process. Don't be scared. Reach out to us. We'll help you talk with the doctor. We'll even talk to your doctor with you or for you, or at least initiate that conversation. And these are all ways that individuals can support us. Of course, our services are free. We will never require a payment before talking to you.
No, it's free.
We require that you acknowledge we're not doctors, and then once we get past that, we are very open. We will never ask you for money before talking to you.
No.
But we will always encourage you to support us. If you enjoyed the conversation, if you learned something, $1 a month will help us help support us throughout the year. It's $12. That's a yearly advocate support level. So we really encourage people, if you or a loved one has used cannabis or wants to use cannabis and you enjoyed our services, please let us know by sharing some of your financial winnings with us.
Always, we're looking for volunteers, ambassadors. Stay engaged with us. You can go to our volunteer page. And lastly, we care a lot. It's kind of our thing. This is how you can stay connected with us. Tomorrow we will be presenting on cannabis and autism research that has been published, but also from our own observational research registry. So I'll be presenting that with Joel Munson tomorrow, our research coordinator. And then on Saturday, we're going to interview a few different folks here who either have found success with using cannabis with their loved one or them themselves, as well as some presenters here at the conference. So stay tuned for that, and that's Lacey, Lloyd, and myself, and we'll do frequently asked questions as well. So we're excited to stay in touch with you. We'll see you tomorrow, or hear from you tomorrow. Thank you
everybody.
again. Have a good night.
Oh, okay.
It's live. Hey everybody, it's Candace again. I'm here with Autism One Media Live. And right now I have Patty Finn, attorney, New York. Hi Patty.
Hi, how
are
you?
you enjoying the conference?
I'm loving it, and I love you, and thank you for having me on your
You're
show.
such a doll. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
So tell us what happened in New York. You won.
Yeah, we won.
We finally won one.
Yeah, we finally won one, and it was a great victory because they don't always turn out very well. And there's a lot of people fighting really hard to protect your rights. And we were very lucky in New York that we got a great judge, Judge Thorson, who made a very difficult decision. And I know he got a lot of backlash about it, but he did the right thing. He knew that what our county executive had done at day was wrong, and we moved to enjoin the exclusion of people who were not vaccinated for religious beliefs. We moved to restrain that. And it was interesting in Rockland County because anybody who knows about me and my work, I've been fighting vaccines all over the globe for the last 15 years, and it's like Muhammad, bring the mountain to me. All of a sudden now, the county executive who lives, a mile away from me is, mandating measles vaccine. So it was kind of a surprise. I actually think they targeted Rockland, Pharma did. But we beat them back, and it was a great win, and we're going to keep at it. So I was very happy.
Patty, I heard a constitutionalist talking. I'm addicted to YouTube, so I watch all those YouTube videos all the time. And he was saying that Thomas Jefferson said that the most valued part of our First Amendment is our right to conscientious belief. So all these legislators that are introducing all these mandates, they're not upholding our Constitution. They're violating their oath. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
Yes, I 100% agree. Unfortunately, though, the courts haven't interpreted their actions that way. And that's why the win in Rockland was so huge, because it was certainly treading on our constitutional rights, conscientious objection, religious freedom, and it was a close call. But the problem that we have in the United States when it comes to vaccine choice or conscientious objection, religious freedom, whatever you want to call it, it's really choice over your own body and the right to refuse to inject, poisonous
Being
and
safe in
toxic.
our own body, bodily autonomy.
Right. The problem is, though, in 1905, there was a very important Supreme Court case called Jacobson versus Massachusetts. And in that case, the Supreme Court articulated a state's police power to force vaccinate. So if you live in the United States and it is determined that you need a vaccine, under that precedent, you have to vaccinate. And that was held as not to violate the Constitution, and it was later interpreted as not violating the First Amendment. So if you have a religious belief contrary to vaccinating, you do not have a First Amendment right to refuse. And that's very important. I want to make that really clear. You do not have a First Amendment right to refuse vaccines. If you live in a state that has a religious exemption, your First Amendment right is created under the statute. All right, so that's really important, and a lot of people don't see that. But what was important about the Supreme Court case in 1905 that is being completely overlooked is, yes, the Supreme Court did say, we can force vaccinate you, but there's a criteria that the vaccines have to be necessary. They have to be harm avoidant. They have to be proportional and not discriminate. And today's vaccines are none of those things. Look at the measles. It's not necessary. It's definitely not necessary, even though you may read in the paper we're all dying from it. It's not true. It's certainly not harm avoiding, because we know kids are injured by the vaccine. It's not proportional, because in Rockland, for example, we had 2 active cases, and you had a county executive who did not have the authority to do anything that he did, declare an emergency banning people with religious beliefs, conscientious beliefs, in opposition to vaccines from public places. And the most important part of the criteria is non-discriminatory. These vaccines are discriminating against children because we're burdening children with the risks of vaccines that are supposed to be protecting the entire community. And you can't do that. You can't target one class. You can't target one group and expose them to risk or injury when others, are moving freely about or not sharing in that. So that's definitely a problem.
Tell me in 3 minutes, what do you think sealed the deal for that judge? What did you say that changed his mind or brought us a winning case?
Yeah, I don't know. Was it me? I think it was him. I think we were lucky that we had a really brilliant judge that was willing to listen. The other judges sometimes dismiss our cases as, kooky vaccine hippie lawyers and things like that. And, this judge took it very seriously. It is a really serious problem. And I know he got a lot of heat for what went down, and he still did it. He did the right thing.
How does full informed consent fit into all this?
Well, that's the problem, right? I mean, we apparently don't have informed consent. I mean, it's on the books. It is the law. In New York State, there was a very important case 10 years after Jacobson. Justice Cardoza in a case called Schollendorf, and he ruled in that case that anybody that is subjected to a medical procedure without consent, it's a battery. And so we need to weigh that. We need to make sure that we preserve our right to informed consent. I mean, I'm not done. There's more to come. There's more litigation. We really need to get in front of the Supreme Court on this issue, and hopefully one of these cases will. But you got to lose, it seems, or win, I guess. But no matter what happens in these cases, they're definitely going up the pipe to the Supreme Court. I hope.
We have to win over the pharma lobbyists.
Ugh, they're the worst. And you know what? They're really poisoning our children, and it's extremely unethical. And,
54% are sick.
Yeah.
54% of our kids are sick.
I know. Don't vaccinate. And if you can't send them to school, then maybe that's not such a bad thing. Come up with an alternative. I know some kids need services, and when they're excluded, it's a problem. But there are alternatives to vaccines, and anything you can do to protect your children, you have to do it.
Good food, strengthen the immune system.
Yeah. Pray.
Get enough sleep.
Pray.
Lots of vitamin D.
Love
Pray.
each other.
Love each other. Be happy.
Be happy. That's the greatest immunity there. Be happy. So.
And laugh.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of funny people here, so it really, we were in a talk yesterday on the HPV, and my friend is like, I'm getting really sad here.
I know, listening to all this.
We need some comic relief.
We need a good vaccine joke. If anybody has a vaccine joke,
Send
you
them our
can
way.
post it on my wall. Patricia Finn, attorney, the good health lawyer. And if you can, please follow me on Facebook and Twitter. My page is being suppressed by social media, and I have a lot of followers. I have 16,000 or so, and I can't even get a post out.
Yeah, me too. And they took my account on Twitter and my 7,000 followers.
Really?
And then they admitted that they had made a mistake, and 10 days later they reinstated my account, but I had 0 followers and I was following 0.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's terrible.
Yeah, but finally they gave me back my followers. And,
Oh, good.
But I still can't find anybody. I'm still kind of lost in the woods.
Yeah.
And of course on Facebook I used to have tons of shares, and now I have 0. Nobody
I have
looks
0
at my page.
shares. Nobody looks at my page. And the only way to know what I'm doing is you have to go to my page and share it with others. You have to really, we have to really do that. Get out there, and but we're looking at that too. It's totally not legal. It's a suppression of our speech, and the question is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, are they state actors? And I think they are. I think you can certainly categorize them as that, and some courts have done that. And if we can do that, then we can certainly go after them for First Amendment violations.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Patty, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I
You're
love
so
you.
beautiful.
So are you.
And I love, sitting down with you, so
Yeah.
you can, because I'm just fascinated by all this law stuff.
Yeah.
I want to go to law school. Maybe I can help you.
You should. And you're really wonderful too. Candace is the best. Everybody here is great, but Candace is a star.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Love you, bye.
Love you. All right.
And next up, I have Dr. Adams. Thank you, Patty.
Is that Dr. Adams?
Come on over, and we'll get right to it. So, this is Dr. Adams. Hello, I'm Candace. Nice to see you.
Nice to see
Thanks
you.
for coming here today. Now, where do you
Sure.
live?
Arizona.
So, what is your superpower? What's going on?
Yeah.
I'm here. You've caused a lot of scuttlebutt all around, so we want to know what's going on because it's really happening.
Okay. So we've been doing.
So the camera's there, if you want to.
Do you want me to look this way?
Sure.
All right.
And I'm listening.
All right. So what we've done is we've been looking at gut problems in children with autism. We've identified that many children with autism are missing hundreds of species of the normal 1,000 or so that they'd have in a healthy gut. And so we've looked at a way to treat them using an intensive microbiota transplant therapy. And what we found is that through the treatment we've developed, we're able to decrease gut symptoms by about 80%. and also reduce autism symptoms by about 25%. And then after we stopped treatment, these benefits seem to be continuing, and that at a 2-year follow-up study we did, we found that most of those gut benefits continue, and our expert autism evaluator says now autism symptoms are down about 47% from where they were. It's an open label study, there's some placebo effect, but much of this effect seems to be real. And so based on our research, the FDA has said that microbiota transplant has been fast-tracked, and so that means they think that this is a promising therapy for an unmet need, treating core symptoms in autism and GI symptoms. That means it'll be easier for us to keep going with our studies through phase 2 and phase 3 to try to get FDA approval so anyone in the country can use it.
Well, that's awesome. So now, did you talk today? Did you have a presentation?
Yeah, so we had a presentation today that talked about our first open label study that we did, our phase 1 study, showing this treatment is very safe but also seems to be effective, and our 2-year follow-up. And now we're doing an adult study for adults with autism. We've been approved to treat 84 adults. We've treated 18 already, and that's going well. But now we're in the midst of a fundraising campaign to raise funds for the to treat the next 64 for the microbiota transplant.
So, do you have a website that we can go to?
Yeah. So you can go to our website, autism.asu.edu, and that has information there on how families can apply for a study. So we're currently doing a study for adults, and if that goes well, then we'll also probably launch another fundraiser to do another study for children to see if we can replicate the results of our first study in the larger group.
Thank you so much for all your help. And are you talking tomorrow?
Nope, just today.
Okay, but it's archived, and it's probably posted on YouTube right now. So you can go to Autism One Media and search Dr. Adams, and you can catch his talk that he did today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
And don't forget to go to Dr. Adams' website, and if you want to participate, there's an application. Or
Yep, they can go there for an application and for more information about the studies.
I'm so thrilled. It's wonderful to have people like you on our side looking out for our family members and making a difference for our kids. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm grateful. Everybody said, you got to interview Dr. Adams. He's here. I'm like, okay, point me in the right direction.
Sounds good.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your time here at Autism One. I hope you're having a good time.
Yep, we'll do.
Perfect. Be well, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Okay, guys, so we're about ready to wrap it up for the day. Tomorrow we have our live stream. I start at 9 o'clock. I'm going to give you a rundown for the day. We're going to have Gene and Eric again at 10:15. Dylan Lewis Monroe, he's either going to be talking about his QMAP or I will interview him on his QMAP. He's got an interesting historical perspective on that. And then Karen Thomas will be up at 11:45. We have Wayne Rohde. And if anybody caught any of my interviews on Autism One Media or Autism One Radio, Wayne Rohde was one of my most favorite and valued interviews that I'd ever done. He wrote the book on the vaccine court, so everything he talks about is very interesting, full of content, lots to learn there. And then we'll have Steve Tillius and Jack Burla. Those are our two chiropractors that are, Steve is running our CE program for chiropractors here at Autism One. It's our second annual pediatric conference. And Jack Burla is one of my favorite guys. He's a shoe guy. I love that about him. And he's very funny. He keeps it light. He's really, really fun to be with. And then we have Robert Scott Bell between 2 and 3 tomorrow. On Friday, and then Zen Honeycutt from 3 to 4. We have Realm of Caring again from 4 to 5 tomorrow, and then we'll have Dustin Nemos, one of my favorite U-truthers, a patriot, alternative news. He'll be here talking news or interviewing he'll do a great job. He's amazing. I picked him to come and be on my bigger picture panel for Saturday. So that's from 5 to 6. You can catch Dustin Nemos. You can find him at Twitter at NemoV8. And then again, I'm going to wrap it up tomorrow between 6 and 6:15. So tomorrow there's a lot going on. We have Dr. Judy Markovitz will be talking about cannabinoid signaling in macrophage and microglia. And then Saturday, people are rolling in. More and more people. I just saw Polly Tommy and her husband, John. Catherine and Patrick Layton have been here. We're sitting right across from the High Wire. They've got their merchandise out there. I got my pin and I got my book on the HHS. For my panel on Saturday, we have Travis Middleton, law researcher. He's my neighbor. He lives in Santa Barbara. We were at a bot screening in Santa Barbara, and Travis got up and said we need to bring these legislators down for violating their oath of office. And we've been working together ever since. That was 2 to 3 years ago. We're going to have Del Bigtree on our panel, Billy DeMoss from CalJam, chiropractor extraordinaire that loves to tell it like it is. We have Dustin Nemos, Dylan Lewis Monroe with QMAP, and Jordan Sather above Majestic. So we've got all that going on tomorrow. More and more people are rolling in. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Klinghardt and his take on 5G and Wi-Fi. What else do I have for you? Let's see. We got a lot going on. But if you are in the area, you can come on over and talk with us and see what we got going on. We've got tons of... I'm going to be interviewing more of our exhibitors tomorrow. We have a whole nother wing that's full of exhibitors, and they love to hear from me, so that's cool. We've got Quicksilver Scientific, Focus for Health, our sponsor. Thank you to Focus for Health. Children's Health Defense, Patch MD, World Stem Cells Clinic, CBD American Shaman, Kentuckian Children's Center, Alliance for Natural Health, Lineagen, Body Bio, EMF Solutions, Elixinol, Young Solution, Sanevax, Just Thrive Probiotic, Regenavita, NeuroNeeds, the Children's Hope Center, Oxygen Health Systems, Bravo Europe, Clearlight Ventures, Charlotte's Web, Nutrigen, Multi-Radiance Medical. We have book signings. We have Innate Wellness, Safe Connect Plus, Relax Saunas, IVAC, IFCO, International Federation of Chiropractors and Organizations, Chiropractic Leadership Alliance, Chiropractic Mastery, the Camel Milk Company, Health and Med, Healing Kids Biomedically. We've got Vax2. We have some movies, some screenings here. They're free with your paid registration. A lot going on. So please come by and say hello. If not, you can catch every presentation probably on YouTube tonight. Kennedy went real good. Okay, you can catch it tomorrow. They're all archived, so you can catch everything on YouTube. We want our children to be well, and we want to help you in expanding your knowledge base so you too can help your own children and keep them safe. So thank you. Enjoy your evening, and thanks for being with us today. And thanks, Mike, for our AV guy that stood here all day. He worked his booty off, and he's done a great job. And thanks so much. It was a lot of fun. Be well, people. See you later. Bye.